We're starting video 2 now. Knowledge is power. Educate first. Options for homeowners. So the first thing we want to talk about for a homeowner and the options that they have available to them once they're upside down on their property or they've been in a situation where foreclosure is on the horizon is the first thing they can do is they can simply bring their mortgage current. They could do this by borrowing money from friends, emptying out their 401k, anything they want to do, but they can bring their mortgage current, and this is an option. But unfortunately, what I see is that this doesn't really help people out very often. But there are people that get a job, that have lost their job, and are able to pay back. The second option is forbearance. This used to be very popular back in the 2008 era, where what they would do is all the payments that someone would miss, let's say they missed 4 months of payments, they came out to $10,000. They added that $10,000 to the bulk of their original mortgage. So let's say it was $200,000, now it's $210,000. They would then again amortize that over 30 years. So now that their payment was more than what their original payment was because they've added more money to the actual principal itself. So unfortunately, unless people were making more money and had a better way to pay, that just really wasn't a big option. Loan modification, this is probably the hottest thing right now, and really for most homeowners, they really want to stay in their home. They're getting more educated, they know what's going on, they'd like to stay in their home as long as they could, because where are they going to go once they leave their home? So loan modifications, very big option, very good for a lot of homeowners, and it's a way to go. So the next thing is a short sale. Short sale is simply this. This is where a homeowner owes $200,000 on the property. They find a real estate agent that goes out there and finds a third-party buyer. The buyer comes up and says, "I'll pay $150 for it." The agent or their attorney or whoever they hire to work on their behalf negotiates that debt from $200,000 down to $150. The bank says, "Hey, I agree with what your offer is. We'll accept a reduced payment for our note of $200,000, so we'll accept the $150. You get an approval letter, you get the deal closed, and that's a short sale. So it's just short, or it's a smaller amount than the original loan balance. A deed in lieu, this is very simple. When you're in foreclosure, you've started the process. This is basically handing the property back. I don't really recommend this. This is probably just as bad, if not as bad, as a foreclosure, because you're giving the bank back. They're going to have to sell the property at auction, and a lot of times, if you're not careful how you put together your options with the bank, whatever the losses between what your original loan is and what they sell the property for auction is, they end up going after the homeowner. So not the best of options. And then finally, foreclosure. So these last two aren't very big options. Foreclosure comes into play. You lose your property. They have a judgment against you. They literally can go after you for numerous times over the next 20 years, and this could affect your life. I mean, really, it's a big option. So all of these options, there's a couple that I personally think are the best. So what's the best option? Now let's kind of look at and go over the 6 of them. The first option, which I know most people want to do, is they want to stay in their home. But the problem is that loan modifications turn homeowners into economic zombies. And here's some of the reasons why, is that unless you plan on living in the property for the next 20 years, it's a big problem, because most people are underwater on their home a lot, meaning not 10 or 15 or 20,000, but 50, 100, sometimes even $200,000 upside down on their home. And unless you actually start getting into the principal payments on your mortgage, which is going to take 10, 15, 20 years, you're really not going to reduce that loan value enough to catch with where the economy's prices are. So that's one of the big things that don't work for loan modifications. Next is 70% of all loan mods, they just simply fail. I mean, there's just the bank can't come to terms with the homeowner. The price isn't where the bank wants to see the homeowner paying. So there's just a lot of small stipulations that have problems. And of the 70% that actually get approved, only 90% of them just don't last. They just don't continue with the payments, because one of the big reasons why that's the case is you need an increased income to be able to do this. So most people just can't afford it. Their payments were high to begin with. They can't afford it now. Their lifestyle needs a change. So we're in an economic crisis. And all this really does for people with loan modifications, it just pushes the pain down the road. Instead of getting out of your home in 1 or 2 years, this is going to push it down for another 5 or 10 years. So it's going to take this recessionary times and this foreclosure situations that we're looking at and take it from the next couple of years to the next 5 or 10 years. So for people like myself that love investing in short sales that work with the economy, it's a great opportunity. But really what's happened is you're just plain chicken with the bank. I mean, it's just a no-win situation. So get out now, start to rebuild your credit and move forward. Don't hold on to something, because I see so many people holding on to loan modifications that just don't get the deal done. So let's talk now about, how does a foreclosure hurt? How does it really affect homeowners today? I mean, with all the news, all the information, everything out there, a foreclosure is so common that really it's misinterpreted, because most people don't really know the true effects that it's going to affect people. Because right now everyone's just in a cloud of smoke. 5, 10 years from now it's going to be big. So one of the first things, and one of the most critical is it's going to affect your credit 250 to 300 points. I mean, that's huge. You're not going to be able to buy a car. You're not going to be able to buy a house. All your credit cards are going to be closed. So literally, your credit situation is going to be crushed. The second thing is there's a 40% lower chance to get a job. I mean, you literally, if you look at this article on the right here from the New York Times, you could really get just discriminated against because you've had a foreclosure. Your boss can fire you for a foreclosure. This is legal grounds for termination. Think about it. If you need security clearance, if you're bank, if you work for a bank, if you're a cop, if you're in the military, all your passes can simply be revoked on purely the grounds that you've had a foreclosure. So, and then on top of all of it, there's a huge 100% chance that you can owe money. You're going to have a foreclosure judgment on your record that's going to affect you for the next 10 to 15 years. And let's say that your personal financial situation changes 5 years from now. The bank kind of looks you up and says, hey, we're going after you. We want our money back. We have a foreclosure and a judgment against you. So really, foreclosure in my world is just not an option. But here's the thing, is that short sales stops foreclosures. I mean, they literally stop them dead in their tracks. So there's more things that really are not good for the foreclosure situation. No home loan you can get for the next 5, even 7 years if it's an investment property. On all loan applications, you must answer yes to foreclosure questions. And the next 10 years, it's just literally going to be in your credit report, where we can erase it off there. But besides the credit report, they can still go after you. So, these are some serious implications. Homeowners really need to come to the reality that foreclosure should not be an option in their world. They need to do everything they can to make sure they don't have a foreclosure. And one of those 6 steps needs to come into play, but really the best one that I see and the most lucrative for all homeowners is short sales. They stop foreclosures. So